Good evening, everyone. We are set for the first meeting for Data 650, and we are going to do this for the as a group, not just for one section, but for both sections. We are going to do the meeting for Data 650, 9040, and 9041. And the today hosts are myself, Elena Gorcheva, Professor Gopati, Professor Ozan, Elena Batenskaya, and Linish Day, which both of them are TA. I'm just coordinating this meeting today as a program chair. Professor for both sections. For the first one is Professor Gopati, for the second one is Professor Ozan. Elena is the TA for 9041 and Linesh for the 9040. I want that each one in this list from the host says few words about himself, so we get to know each one. We choose to do this for the first meeting, not to record it and post it as a formal lecture, but more as an interactive meeting in which you can ask questions, because it's very important that we understand each other from the beginning. What is the purpose of the course, what we have designed it, and what we are going to teach you, and you align your expectation with this. And of course, you have the advantage to ask questions. So, Gopati, can you start?
Sure. Thanks, Elena. My name is Gopati Purushothaman. I have met most of you already in section 6, in section 9040. As Dr. Gorcheva said, I will be the primary instructor for 9040, and your TA will be Linesh. Briefly, I have been teaching this course for a little more than 2 years now, and I have a doctorate in computer engineering. I've been working in decision sciences for almost 20 years now. Currently, I am the principal data scientist at a large healthcare corporation, and I continuously use most of the tools and platforms that I will be teaching you. You just feel free to ask me any questions about not just the course materials, but also on how what you are studying here will be useful to you in your job situation. Okay, and briefly about the course, it's a very intense course, as Dr. Gorcheva already said. You need to start on your assignments and homeworks early because there will always be some issues to deal with. So please don't wait till the last minute. That's my main suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopati. Next, Ozan is not there. So we have Elena and Linish as a TA. They both are graduate from our program. So you will get, let's say, they are closer to your way to understand the classroom, better understand your expectation, because very recently they were student in our program. So with no more, let's them tell you a few words. Elena?
It looks like Professor Ozan just joined, but that's all right. Well,
after
okay.
that.
Yes, okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Elena, and I have been in the program for a very long time, more than a decade, okay? So some of you may have met me in earlier courses, and you remember when you took the Data 610, I was an administrator. When you used when you used Watson Analytics, I was a system administrator, as you may remember. So most of you met me before. And my degree is in a database system. So that's DBST and ITech, the combination of classes that I had to take. So I'm excited to work with all of you guys. And welcome to class, I would say. So who's next, Professor Ozan or Linesh?
Linish, go you, because Ozan perhaps still doesn't have the audio.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Linesh Dave. And as professors, Gopati and Elena mentioned that, I've been part of this program not too long ago. So what I'm going to be telling you is basically, speaking more as a student on how to be successful, right? I mean, they kind of introduced me as I'm going to be TA for section 9040 and a helper TA for Yelena in 9041. And of course, Yelena would be, backing me up as well. Now, I've been part of IT for, more than 25 years. And most of it has been as part of the telecom industry. And as in software development. And of course, in addition to that, after completing this program a few years back, I've been also leading the data and analytics initiative for my organization. So I really want to like to share my knowledge and experience, and most importantly, how I was successful for this course. So four things I would like to quickly mention here. Maybe you guys want to take a note of it. First and foremost, what Professor Gopati just mentioned, starting working on assignments early. I can't tell this enough, guys, that it's so important. Being procrastinate or avoid procrastination. Leaving everything for the weekend would really not work for this course. I'm telling you right from the beginning, because you're going to be working on and really enterprise level platform that caters to real companies outside. And so the maintenance windows and downtime are often during the weekends. So starting early will also give you some time to enhance your solution, also make it an A grade submission, and avoid all those things that can happen on the weekends, especially the last weekend, right? Number two, make Google your friend. For any problems that you may face during this course or program, you will want to try to find a solution yourself first. There's a lot of information and documentation that is available on the internet that you can leverage upon, right? And remember that you're pretty close to the end of this program, and very soon maybe working somewhere if you're not yet, and you'll be on your own to find solutions for any problems that you face, right? Third thing, and ensure that you've read all the materials that is provided in this classroom. You get a lot of information and insights to work on your tutorials and assignments. And additionally, read all the discussion posting. I'm telling you, that's free knowledge shared by others. So take advantage of that. You will not get that anywhere. This is lots and lots of information and wisdom that will be coming from your classmates. And last not the least, post your problems or concerns in the appropriate section of the discussion. First, you'll get the same priority as what you would get by sending an email to, one of the faculty members, to myself or anyone. And secondly, you'll be helping your class. So very important, guys. I mean, I know sometimes in order to get, quick attention, you may send out emails, you may put the postings on, you send emails to others as well. Trust me, that would kind of make them more confusing and complex. But posting it in one place, which is the discussion area, would exactly get the same attention, okay, and priority as well. So just few things that has really helped me to be successful in the past, and also have seen many students in the past week success from this course. So once again, looking forward to working with you all, and good luck.
Thank you, Linesh. Ozan?
Hello, am I audible? Do you hear
Yes.
me? All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this session and welcome to class. And I have been working at the University of Maryland Global Campus now for 4 years. And I'm also working in the industry, software development industry, as a project manager. So and I remember some of you from my previous classes, like a 601, 602. So if you remember, we are having very informative and valuable announcements. So my suggestion is definitely read the announcements very carefully and try to, make sure you understand them. Additionally, as other folks says, discussion boards are so important. Make sure that you have, subscribe all the discussion board, all the announcements so that you don't miss anything. Because especially Elena is, communicating for the softwares through the discussion board. I'm communicating through the announcements for the classroom. So please make sure you subscribe all the discussion board and the announcements. Additionally, rubrics are very important. To get the highest grade, make sure that you're following all the rules in the rubric and do not miss any point, because we are grading per the rubric, and you make sure that you are, completing all the sessions. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ozan. So a few words. I'm not teaching any of the section this semester. Again, I'm Elena Gorcheva. I'm the program chair for the Master of Science in Data Analytics, and my main job is the curriculum of the whole program, the blending between course and course, and trying to cover what is most important for industry professional in this field to be covered in the curricula. So that is my main job, and just I'm going to do the introduction of the course and then leaving you with the professor and the TA. The agenda today is quite intense, like the course. The course is quite intense. So there is no way you can miss more than 2 days and not have difficult time to catch up. So keep this in mind. So we are going to go over the outline of the course, grading, miscellaneous, some important point about week 1 activity, and of course, answering any question you may have. So let's start with the name of the course and trying to define big data. Of course, this is not a term which we can define formally. This term has been used for more than 10 years formally, if I can say, as a term, and is well abused. You have heard this, you have studied this along the program, and I want to stress that this is not about the volume of the data which has grown excessively in the last 10, 15 years. It's most about the technology to deal with the complexity of the data. And one of the complexity is the size of the data. And let's put it this way. This is the first term of the complexity of data, the volume, and many people just limit themselves to think about volume. This is actually already not a problem. This is technologically solved. We have the technology to deal with the volume. What we do not have is the technology to deal with complexity of the data we want to deal with. All these images in YouTube, in internet, in Facebook, with all free text in plain English. That is the complexity, that is the challenge about the data. So we can, if we want to define somehow big data, we mostly should think about the technology which will help us to deal with the complexity of the data when the existing management tool, approaches, method cannot help us. In this sense, we are talking about that we are not able to share data, but by the existing method, we are not able to storage data, we are not able to visualize data, and we have to go to the new data architecture, new tools, and new analytical approaches. So mainly, when you think holistically what big data is, don't think about volume. Think about the volume is just one of the characteristics which the technology already has helped us to to have a solution, technological solution for the size of data. We have totally new challenges today, and this is part of what is the definition of big data. So I want to stress, we are talking about the technology to deal with the complexity of data. And of course, since the technology is evolved here, you understand that you will have to learn new skills, and this will be part of the integration of skills you will have as in your future role as a data scientist, data analyst. So this is very well known, let's say, presentation of how data has evolved from volume to processing complexity and to structure. I just have this slide as a reminder that everything you have learned in the program up to here is still here. Nobody is negating this. We are just moving to the new challenges. And the new challenges for, let's say, the previous generation challenges started around 2010 when Twitter, Facebook, YouTube produced exabyte of data and was no way to deal with this. So then technology advanced with NoSQL databases, Hadoop, and was able, company like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook were able to deal with the amount of data they wanted to do this at that point. But then things evolved like today that we mostly are talking about unstructured data. When you think about unstructured data, everyone thinks about free text document in plain English, which you see in the web, PDF document, images, video. All these are the typical unstructured data. And if you see in this graphic, the structured is very teeny small portion of all the data the company and our society have to deal today. So all the approaches to deal with structured data are well known. And it's not that we don't have structured data. We do have, and we still work with them. We extract useful information, but the big volume of data is regarding the unstructured. And like everything in real life, there is not just black and white. There is a lot of gray color. So that's why I grayed out 3 different groups of unstructured data, because we have some structure somehow, not like row or column in the structured data where we have the schema, but we may have some structure in the HTML data file in the web, and we can describe the schema. So in this case, we refer to this text data as a semi-structured, because we can define a HTML schema. Also, there is other gray area in the unstructured, which is not totally unstructured. Is, for instance, example could be analyzing web clickstream data. You understand that the data may have some inconsistency, but we can group this in some kind of format, and with effort and tool, we can deal with this data in some quasi-structured data. So that is one example. And unstructured, again, is the big chunk of data, which is the today concern, which everyone in each department, in each company is looking to obtain insight from. So in this following slide, I have several examples, and it's very important when you review the lecture, we will be posting not only the recording, but also the PowerPoint. Every time you start working in a project, look what type of data you have and this is going to help you to choose the most appropriate approach and method to deal with data. Because every time you can find some kind of structure, not the classical structure of column and row, but some kind of structure, the methods are easy to deal with. The most difficult is the totally plain English text and images, where the complexity, you cannot find this way of schema and structure we've been working previously. So think about what type of data you probably involve, and then decide what approach you're going to use. So since the big chunk of unstructured data is the main concern today, you understand that the course of big data is going to be focused in doing project with this type of data. We are going to work a lot with textual data. So this is just in reflection to what is the reality of big data today, what the jobs are about, and what is the most advanced thing to learn about big data, which we have advanced, let's say, in the last 10 years. Here I have in this slide an example to reflect how difficult it is to deal with plain text. Here we have plain English text, several bullets, and just reading them, you would have to reread them without computer as a human. To interpret each of them, we need to put some effort because of the complexity of the language. And when we need a computer to deal with this kind of problem, we expect the computer to do natural language processing and understanding. You can see how complex the problem is. Because, for instance, I have the same example in structured data and in unstructured in the bottom of the slide. Which in the structured, we have the column, person, and the organization, and obviously, well, run the organization General Electric. This is very easy to see in a structured schema. But when you read the free text, which mostly describe the same thing, but using symbolically a master painter to symbolize a manager, very well skilled manager, you understand as a human the language. But how we train a computer to understand the complexity of this kind. So just this is awareness how complex is natural language processing and understanding, which is the big chunk of big data today. So, and there is new involvement. Everyone is listening AI, artificial intelligence. What this course has to do with this? That is what I'm representing here, because you will be doing the last project in this course is going to be on contemporary AI. And what is contemporary AI? The classical AI was defined in the 50s and was roughly defined as a computer program which can substitute human. That means the computer program, the computer can think and do, let's say, we're not talking about visual, physical thing, we're talking about only mental thing. And the computer can do the same like human can do. That was the definition of the classical AI, sorry. Of course, it has been researched for many years, and today we are in new place. With the volume and the complexity of big data, we reach a moment in which the machine learning has evolved to more, let's say, precise models. Why? Because if we can train the model with a lot of data, of course, our model is going to be close to the reality. And the involvement of big data have given a boost in machine learning. Machine learning has advanced so much, and since machine learning is the heart of artificial intelligence, we are talking about what is the today involvement between the way machine learning has evolved because of big data toward contemporary AI. What is contemporary AI? Contemporary AI has no objective to substitute human, is to augment human capability. So that is the big difference between the classical view and the today view of the contemporary AI. There are so many tasks that training model with the amount of data and complexity of data we have, we can obtain very precise result. So that's why human can rely on the contemporary AI for a big chunk of work today. For instance, let's say insurance adjuster. Many of the tasks of insurance adjuster today are absorbed by computer program. Images are updated automatically, compared, trained, and concluded by a program what type of problem is. So this is just a simple example, but that doesn't mean we don't need the human at all. The thing is that the contemporary AI will augment human capability, not to substitute human capability. And here I want to open a parenthesis about, we usually, when we think about AI, we think about robot. So there are two parts. One is brain and one is the physical capability. When we want to substitute physically human capability, we talk about robot. So mostly we are not going to talk about robot in this course because this is out of our scope, but this is the way they all are related. So it's very important you keep in mind, whatever we talk about AI in relation with big data, this is just the evolvement today, how things has progressed, and we have reached a new era of the, let's say, new technological era in which we are in the era of AI. And closely related, and thanks to big data, we can say this perfectly, and this is perfectly okay. Thanks to big data and the technology, we have today the contemporary AI. So I want also to clarify the structure so you don't think one thing and the other is the same. Here I have presented the hierarchy between data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. And you understand, you have the big box of data science, which can use artificial intelligence approaches, but can use other approaches also. And machine learning is one of the methods, is one of the main method which artificial intelligence uses, and deep learning is a subset of what is machine learning. So that is the way we can think about all these concepts and not get confused, have the clarity before even starting with the first project. Very important. And you understand that each discipline in this graphic has his approaches, algorithm, and models. We have to keep this in mind, although they are closely related in some fashion depicted here. So, going now to what is Data 650. as a part of the Master of Science in Data Analytics, this is competence-based course, and the graded assignment are projects in which you are assessed what you can do after you have learned the material. Is very important. This is the next phase of learning. First phase of learning is you read the assigned reading. You can go even above the assignment with recommended reading. And after you have understood this, you can apply what you have learned to develop your project. And that's why for each of the project you have between 2 or 3 weeks. It depends on the size of the project. Some of the project has 2 phases. Very small, let's say, tutorial, which you have to do in order to train yourself with the tools, and then do the real project. The only thing in this approach, which I want to warn everyone, yes, is what you can do at the end of the day will be evaluated, and your grade will reflect how original is your solution in the project. That is going to be your grade. But there is no real benefits of jumping and doing the project without reading the assignment. Why? Because you blindly will do stuff, but you never will understand what you are doing and why you are doing it. So very important, reading and then project. So the fact that this is competence-based program doesn't mean that you just, oh, here is the project, I do the project, this is my grade, and that's it. No benefits, believe me. So the program was designed with industry input. We have constantly advisory board, which advise us what we should include in the program. And we just had this named academic performance review, in which member for all this industry I have listed in the advisory board participated and give us recommendation how to continue. And this is because we are working closely with the industry to offer what they need. That is the main objective, because there is a huge skill gap. 50% of the position in this field cannot be filled because they are not trained people to fill this position. The gap is huge, and part of the job of the university is to work in this direction. So that is the way we work in this direction, and we already have achieved several important awards. I'm listing here between award for the program as a distance innovation award, and award for partnership, and award for what is the continuing education professional giving us an outstanding program. So in addition to this, we had 3 consecutive years student teams are ranking on the top of the global analytic competition, which is, we're talking about students from all around the globe. We're talking about hundreds of teams presenting themselves, and we're talking about MSDA team going to the top, between taking first place, second, third, and so on and on. So we are very proud of what our students are doing. Here I have summarized what you have in the syllabus. Please make sure you review the syllabus. Why I'm doing this here is just to focus your attention how things are organized. We do some walkthrough online, like the week 3, we have Spark. We start with new tool, and since it's totally new tool, quite complex, you will have you will have to get trained in order then to do some real machine learning using the capability of Spark. So everything you studied in this program up to here, you will be using, but you will be using new approaches, and the new approaches are using new technology to work with big data. So that is the difference. Everything you studied in data mining and predictive analytics, you need to know. You need to know in order to develop the project for this course. At the end of the program, as I mentioned, we are moving from text analytics to sentiment analysis and toward contemporary AI when you're going to use cognitive analytics approach, and practically you will build, let's say, a well-intelligent chatbot. So this is mostly what this course is. I can tell you, exciting. Just dedicate the time. Don't miss the opportunity to learn. There is too much to learn in this course, too much to learn. So don't miss this opportunity. The way the tool have evolved in big data analytics, we're talking about data warehouses, analytics sandbox, and then we're talking about totally new approach. So this graphic represents the way traditionally analytics was doing when we were dealing with structured data and having the report from the data warehouse, how it worked. The analytic team gives the request to the IT people, and they determine what question will be asked, and IT takes 6 months to deploy the warehouse the business team need and to run the report. That was mostly the traditional approach for structured data. This still remains, of course, but we have advanced to the new approach of big data, where data analysts, data scientists will have a platform which IT has built, and in this platform are all software which she may need for her job. What that means? For one job, I'm choosing SQL, I'm choosing 2 or 3 of the tools IT has installed in this platform. And then you explore your data with the tools available in the platform, you arrive to some conclusion, and you go back to go to the next step, running with other two and finding new insight in the data. This is totally different approach, because moreover, this platform is mostly in the cloud. And everything we are going to work in this program, in this course, you will be using in the cloud. So we're going to use software as a service and platform as a service. Why they are so convenient? Businesses today, advisory board are advising us, teach your student to work in the cloud. This is what employers are looking. Everyone is moving everything to the cloud. Why? Because it's quite convenient. But when we talk about cloud, we have to learn several things. And I hope you will learn some basic general thing about cloud, because this is not just a hype. Oh, very convenient, cheap. Of course, very convenient, but we're talking about shared resources. In public cloud, think about that you share the resources with many other users. And since not all the users are there at the same moment, sharing resources is much less expensive. But you have to think that all the services we are using, they have certain, let's say, certain regulation, limitation, if we can say that. That means if you are not using the service, just log out and make sure you are not wasting the resources in the cloud, because somebody else needs. And if everyone is working the way it has to be, the cloud works perfectly. The cloud works perfectly because not everyone is going to be there doing work all the time. Cloud is not that is 24/8, you have turned on the computer and you are logged in and the service is running. You don't do this in your house. You don't open the water 24/7. You don't have the air conditioning working with the door open. So it's the same thing. Cloud is very convenient, but we have to learn how to meter and how to work in the cloud. Not just because the way we are accessing the cloud, this is going to be the way you will be working in your company. So this is part of the learning. Don't think about this as a limitation. So here I have listed several services we are going to use. Very important, pay attention to the last one, which is previously the name was Data Science Experience. Now the name is Watson Studio. When you think about Watson Studio, Watson Cognitive, this has nothing to do with Watson Analytic. You use it as a business analytic tool in 610. This is totally different paradigm. IBM has created with the use of Watson for the different type, totally different type of product, the same Watson, the creator of IBM, and some people, I understand, get confused. But we have to understand what each product is about. So Watson Analytic has not any place in this course. That was business analytic tool for 610, and that's it. Now we're talking about Watson Studio or Data Science Experience, which exactly has to do with this slide. You have a platform, which is Watson Studio, where you will have at your hand, as a data scientist, everything. Python notebook, RStudio, high performance computing, database, everything together, and the community to share info, to community to share notebook, community to share tutorials. So actually working in the Watson Studio, you will be working in true data science environment, which Azure is very similar of Microsoft. They have mostly the same tools everywhere. Some of them are a little different, but the functionality of the two are the same to cover the data part, the in-memory analytic, high performance computing, to have Python notebook. So all they are very similar. So we are going to work with the IBM Watson Studio. One of the job everyone will have to do is to sign up for the IBM Cloud, follow the instruction in the classroom, and make sure that you have your student email working, because it was a transition week ago to Office 360, and you will need to find and set up your email to work with Office 360. The previous Google email we had, you cannot access anything there. And in order to sign up for the IBM Cloud, you must sign with your student email, because we are getting very preferred service as academia thanks to this email. You are verified as academic member to the cloud through your email, and we are getting preference treatment to resources which are quite expensive, and we are getting them for free. You don't pay anything. You don't have to pay anything, and make sure you don't put any credit card. Here is just how the platform look. If you look to this platform, if you look to Azure, they are very similar. Just the interface is slightly different. There is not substantial difference. Here is the view of what I said, the true data science platform, which is Watson Studio. When you have RStudio, Notebook, you have data, you have computing capability, which are Spark, high performance computing, and even more, which we cannot do everything which is available here, because you understand this is a 12-week course, which is limited time to teach you regarding this so extensive topic. At the end of the day, we are going to work with this hype. Everyone have heard about Watson, the supercomputer Watson, let's say this way. What is represented here is the supercomputer Watson, which acts, let's say, in some way can predict, infer based on the question and answer. And that was this supercomputer who generated hypothesis and look for answer to the question and win with the best player in Jeopardy. So that was quite expensive. Then things have advanced in AI, and today in the IBM cloud, IBM is offering the functionality of Watson Cognitive as a services for different domain area. And we will be working with this at the end of the course. For instance, for text understanding, for sentiment understanding, for many cool today stuff which are related with contemporary AI. And why we can do that? Because they provided this as a service, not as a supercomputer. Services in the cloud, which are very low cost, and anyone can use them today. Even a small business, the two-person business, can take advantage and really pay this type of services. So with no more, I would like to give the word to Professor Gopati to go over the assignments and about the grading.
Okay, thank you, Elena. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I already had some questions about assignment one. Assignment one has two options. The topic, of course, is HBase, which is a distributed database system. And prior to working on assignment one, you should look at the materials. You should read the materials and watch the lecture online. It describes in detail the internal functioning of a distributed database system like HBase. It also goes into the details of how a HBase itself works. And then there is a compare and contrast section between distributed databases and ACID databases, which is what, which are structured relational database systems. And after you cover all that material, you're going to start working on assignment one. And as I said, there are two options. One is to do the theoretical version of the assignment. So there is a problem statement, and there is a rubric at the end that will tell you exactly what you need to do in order to score 100% on the assignment. Okay, this assignment requires you to do a complete database design, and the grading will depend on the correctness of the database design that you, and whether you are able to describe and properly defend your design. And then there is a section that requires you to produce a pseudocode for loading data into the system, the system that you have defined. Now, a pseudocode can be written in many forms, but what I prefer is that you actually use H-based commands. So you can, we have materials on the content list that take you to the complete list of H-based commands. So you can go through them and then use them to come up with a script that will allow you to theoretically, okay, load the data into your HBase. Now, this part does not require any execution. Okay, so you will be able to complete all this without actually running your code. Okay, the second option is for you to sign up for a student account either on Azure or AWS. Students in past semesters have used both, and you read through the second option. It tells you exactly what to do. You're going to implement a distributed database system, and then you're going to write some code to test that design. Okay, so that is also an option available to you, but it is not a requirement. The second assignment is the ML in Spark. Again, we have several tutorials, and there will be lots of quizzes before you actually jump into the assignment. Here again, I want to stress that when you do the tutorial, okay, you need to understand exactly what each cell is doing, exactly what each command that you are executing is doing. Okay, so you need to go back and look at the results, and then you need to look at the command. You need to ask yourself why that command or that chunk of program is there. If you don't do that, you will not be able to properly update the code for the actual problem given to you. Okay, so there is a initial part, which is the tutorial. You need to make sure that you understand the tutorial step by step. Okay, I'm saying this for a very specific reason. There are chunks of code in the tutorial that will look very similar to the to chunks of code in the assignment. But if you don't know what that code is doing in the tutorial, you will not be able to modify that chunk of code in assignment 2 to do the proper function that is required to be done in assignment 2. Okay, so when you go through the tutorial, make sure you understand what you're doing. Okay, even though you can just blindly execute all the cells and say that you are done with the assignment, you should not do that, because if you do that, you will run into trouble when you are doing your assignment. Okay, and so in general, I also want to say that the reports are very important. Elena has created very detailed rubrics for each assignment. Please look through the rubric. It asks specific questions in each specific section. For example, if there is an experimental design section, it says, okay, you should address questions A, B, C. Okay, and if there is a method section, it says make sure you answer these questions. And then in discussion, what needs to be discussed, what kind of future designs need to be discussed. Okay, future improvements need to be discussed. All of that is listed in the rubric. So the way to get 100, okay, the way to get a in any assignment, a B or an A in any assignment, is to make sure you look at the rubric and you answer all the questions in the rubric. Make sure you address each item listed in the rubric, and you structure your report appropriately. Okay, so the report needs to be substantial and original. Okay. Yeah, make sure that you do your own research and you write your in your own words. Write the report in your own words. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me or the TA. If you are in section 9041, that will be Dr. Azam or Elena. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, sorry.
Ozan, do you want to add something?
Not at this point, Professor.
Okay, everything I have in the previous slide, we already talked about this. I don't want to waste time repeating the same. It's very important that you read, you ask questions, and it's very important. I don't know how much to stress on this. Post your question in the Q&A appropriate discussion section in the classroom. Everyone benefits. It's not only you will get your answer, but also your colleague from the class. And it enhances the understanding of everyone. That's why we require, and it's very important, you ask questions with enough information, because let's say, the TA, the instructor, they cannot answer your question if you don't provide enough information with, I did this and I obtained, then I did this, the expected was to obtain this, but I obtained this, and you give a screenshot. But it has to be this logical way to describe what you did and what and to be visible. Otherwise, your question is gonna be almost impossible to respond, because assuming and responding to your question can put things more difficult and more confusing. So please question in the classroom and explicitly with enough information. Nobody knows what you are doing. You have to explain what you are doing and what you're obtaining. So we arrived to the end of this session today from our instructional part and ready to listen to your question. You can post them in the chat. Let me see in the chat. I don't see any question. Or you can unmute yourself and speak. We don't have so many people, so we are ready to answer your question. Okay, I think Nick is typing for the assignment number 1, but then ... I don't see anything else.
Good evening. This is Sarah. I have a question.
Okay.
My question is going back to the Office 365 account, and I guess having that to create the IBM cloud account. I didn't quite catch or understand what that meant.
Okay. Don't mix two stuff.
Okay.
Office 360 has to do with your student email. It doesn't matter for this class or for another class. Okay? Let's separate clarity of the problem. Office 360 is because we were Google email. We are not anymore Google email. In your previous Google email, you are not receiving anything after September 5th. So you have to go through the step and transition to 360. It's very easy. Just follow this instruction, going to portal.office.com, and you will have to change password, answer, I mean, the usual stuff. Just set up your email. You need your student email. I know many of you are using different email, not the student email, but For the cloud account, you must use your student email. So that's why we are talking about Office 630. But these are two different stuff. One is the email, and then you need this email in order to get academic account.
Okay, I think I understand. So currently right now I'm not using I was not using a Google school email account. I was using my personal email account.
Yeah, well.
So what you're saying is we do need to go ahead and sign up for
Yes.
the Office 365
yes.
cloud email so that we can sign up for the IBM.
No.
Okay.
Actually, if you go to the umuseemail.edu, right, you see 3 columns, and if you click
He
on
never
the
use it, Yelena. He has to set up his student email.
yeah, because the link now takes it there. The link takes to the right place now.
I think this is clear. You need to set up your student email because only with student email you can get academic account.
Oh yeah, that's right. But I mean, have you ever accessed your student email before?
No, never.
Ah, okay, gotcha. You need that for this.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I understand it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Gopati, there are questions
Yes.
in chat
Yeah.
regarding assignment 1, please.
I see them. Yes. So Nick asks if the assignment says that the first part should be in your own words, but can be used references. Of course, we expect your report to be in the APA format. So that means, you will list all the references and cite them in a specific way. You should be already familiar with the APA format. If you are not, you can look up, just email me, I can send you a link, or you can go to the library online and check out what the APA format is. Okay, and then the second question is, can you explain the meaning behind the different sections? I think you are referring to introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion. Is that correct? Okay, while we wait for that response, let me move on to the next question. It asks, I think this is Samuel, for assignment number 1, you said we write a pseudocode which we cannot test if it works. How does that work? Very good question. The purpose of a pseudocode is actually design. You are designing your algorithm. Okay, so what the pseudocode is doing is just expressing the flow chart in terms of code. Okay, in a way, you can also list your flow chart for the logic of the algorithm, but just you translate that flow chart into a pseudocode. Okay, so this is the design. And what we are saying is you don't have to actually implement the algorithm in the actual syntax of the language. Okay, I hope that is clear. Second, I just accessed the email from the UMUC webpage and changed my password, and it opened in 360. Would that be considered in the same? And
Yeah,
I think,
I just responded, yes.
yeah, Elena has responded to that. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just recommend that you guys, if you're not sure, just send an email to yourself and make sure you receive it.
Yeah, check. I think you've done it right. It looks like you've done it right, Nick, but you can test. The next, okay, so now we have the response to the previous question on the different section. There are different instructors for different sections. Oh, yeah. So there are 2 sections in the course, 9040 and 9041. In section 9040, I am the instructor, and Linesh is the TA in 9041. Professor Ozan is the instructor, and Elena is the TA. I hope I answered that question.
I don't see more question because the transition already, Nick did the transition. And just test if your email is okay. And that's it. Send to other. Okay.
Oh, yes, this is an important one. If you guys go for option number 2 in assignment 1, make sure that after you're done with the code, you need to stop the cluster. Otherwise, you keep on consuming resources. I had somebody last semester who ended up running out of the hours. So if you created your cluster, you need to make sure that you stop it before you exit. It's very important, okay? Because otherwise, when your money runs out, when the hours run out, your cluster will be destroyed, and you won't be able to access your work anymore. Okay? Yeah, remember what happened last semester, right? Yeah.
Okay, there is one more from Nick. I think, is there any limit on pages for assignment 1? Usually, there are no page limits for the reports. What we expect is a substantial report, which means you answer the questions in necessary detail, and you should answer all the questions. You should address all the points listed in the rubric. Okay, the number of pages generally varies depending on the style of writing and the number of images and figures included. Some people actually include the code and the output as an appendix. So I have seen reports with 25, 30 pages, but there is no hard limit, either lower limit or upper limit on the number of pages. What we are looking for is substantial answer to all the questions.
And just to add to what Professor Gopati said, it's not about the size, how much, it's about you expressing idea with your work. Because if you start using a lot of quotation, it's just patchy, there is no logical flow showing that you understand what you're explaining. So, not that you cannot use references, you can use references, but you have to paraphrase and you have to express idea clearly. So it's not just about the size, it's about the deep and expressing your understanding. And this is visible for the professor when he's reading it. Also I want to clarify in something which Elena is responding here in the chat regarding running out of credits in the Azure cloud is very important. I mentioned this. Think about cloud is shared resources. As soon as you start working in the cloud, you have assigned some limit of credit. Like you cannot have more than 40 hours, whatever. You have this limit. So every time you finish working, log out, stop the service, and then close the browser. Otherwise, just you walk away, you close the browser, but the cloud service is still open on your login and is consuming time without you using. And you will run out of credit before completing the assignment. And you have to learn to work this way because this is the way you will be working when you get a job in the company. Okay? I don't see more questions.
If no further questions, I do have something to add. This is Lanesh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's about the Kaggle competition for this semester. So we'd be kind of hosting, as every semester, we'd be hosting a Kaggle competition just for this class. And it would not be starting at least until another couple of weeks to make sure that you are settled in with the course. You completed at least, your assignment 1 in getting onto the cloud environment and with your HBase and so on. So there's a lot that would be going on for the first couple of weeks. But after that, we'll be kind of sending you instructions and on how to get on with the competition and what the competition is. So you'll get all the details pretty soon within the next couple of weeks before you end your first assignment. Okay.
So let me reiterate that the successful participants in the Kaggle competition will get up to 3 point extra credit. We usually don't have extra credit in this program, but this is just for this like extracurricular activity, which is the Kaggle competition, which is very valuable. And if you find the time, you will be rewarded up to 3 points. Well, I don't see more questions. The classroom is ready. Somebody wants to say something? Nobody? If not, I will stop the recording